Dr. Moeed Yusuf, and the worthy panelists, chairman, members of the Karachi Council on Foreign Relations. Assalamu alaikum, and a very warm welcome this evening from Pakistan and early in the morning in the United States of America. Without any further ado, may I request our member Board of Governor, Mr. Moin Fudda, who is a senior Board of Governors member, Mr. Moin Fudda.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining this very prestigious event. Our thanks to our chairman, Mr. Ikram Sehgal, who has requested, at whose request the four panelists have joined this webinar. And I'm sure this is going to be a very interesting and thought-provoking webinar. We have one speaker, Honorable Dr. Moeed Yusuf, and together with him, there are three panelists, two joining from USA and our own Dr. Huma Baqai.
First of all, thank you very much, Ikram Saab and the Institute for this opportunity, and Moin sir for the introduction. The current administration that's taking over in the US, the new administration, a lot of those people are well known to Pakistani officials and interlocutors, and vice versa, because a lot of them served in the Obama administration as well. The difference is that we are now going to re-engage in a completely different world. And this is a critical point that both sides must internalize, because otherwise, I'm afraid we will start from where we left. And while we were very, very close partners, there were still issues that did separate us at the time and created some level of discomfort.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moeed Yusuf.
Thank you very much to you, to Ikram, to everyone who is listening. Thank you for this opportunity. And I'm sure Dan Markey would join me in saying this is the best time for us to engage at the outset of a new American administration to try to do what Moeed Yusuf has said, to try to see how we can make this conversation be fruitful rather than stuck in just the paradigms of the past. Where I think it's important for Pakistanis to focus is this new style will be a lot more multilateral than we've had in the past. And by this, I mean that the way that the new administration, in the person of many people you know, the people like Tony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, Bill Burns, the people who are coming in at the senior levels of our foreign policy, are going to be looking at solving problems through multilateral means. So I don't mean to knock the strut up from under what Mr. Moeed Yusuf said about a new bilateral relationship, but do be aware that the new team is going to focus very multilaterally.
Thank you, Professor Ambassador Munter.
Okay, hello everyone, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever we are at this time. So we've heard from Moeed Yusuf, which is the government's point of view, and we've heard from an ambassador, which is a cautious point of view. I am going to talk about how things are felt on the ground and what is the general understanding. You see, for Biden, reset to my understanding is a lot of damage control, course correction, and image building, both internally and externally. And he has to walk the tightrope of being bipartisan. Now, in that construct, I don't see a lot of space for, if I may say, Pakistan. And it's not just Biden framed his entire election campaign as a response to Trump's presidency and Trumpism. It seems now that his entire presidency will also be spent on damage control, course correction, and image building for the United States.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Huma Baqai. Over to you, Dr. Markey. Thank you for joining us.
Great, thank you. Great to see all of you. Good morning from Washington, D.C. Good afternoon and good evening to most of you. It's great to see some familiar faces and old friends, and especially good to hear some of the constructive and positive, forward-looking tone of the conversation thus far. I hope that I don't depart too much from it. I don't mean to bring about a more negative or in any way counterproductive perspective, but I do think it's important to be clear, as Professor Baqai just was, about some of the challenges that we face as well, so that we might adequately attempt to overcome them looking forward. So it is true, and I will agree with those who have gone before me, that President-elect Biden and his incoming team are both familiar with Pakistan and with the region, and bring great expertise and experience with them into government.
Thank you very much, Dr. Markey. I think book on the Q&A, I would like to request Farooq Afzal like to ask a question.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Moin bhai, for giving me opportunity to ask the question. I would like to ask question with Mr. Dan. It's regarding with the Pakistan and US relationship. We have been allied with US for last more than 67, 68 years. But in return, we never got any economic benefit from the United States, where Pakistan actually could have been better in the economic activities in Pakistan, where we had been requiring so much investments, like China has been doing now in investment in infrastructure. Had US been also done this earlier, we could have been in much better economic situation in the region actually. So instead, investing in infrastructure, we have been giving aid through US aid in certain matters where we do not need aid. Actually, we need something concrete where Pakistan get better economic activities in Pakistan.
Yeah, I think Ambassador Munter has grappled with a similar set of questions repeatedly during his time in Pakistan. So I'd also like to hear him. But I think just in terms of the historical record, we should be clear. The United States has both invested in Pakistan's infrastructure historically, including dams and other and canal building and other major enterprises, indirectly through multilateral organizations, including with US technologies and so on, including in areas beside infrastructure of education and elsewhere. US investments in Pakistan going back decades have been considerable and have played to the benefit of Pakistan's people over time. So I think historically we need to recognize that. Beyond that, I think, again, Ambassador Munter was there during a period where the United States was considerably more interested in providing assistance, direct assistance to Pakistan. That is no longer the case. And as Moeed pointed out, Pakistan is no longer looking for that. And that's not likely to materialize in a Biden administration, certainly not in the terms that we saw before. And then finally, on trade and textiles, Ambassador Munter mentioned that as well. I think what we found is we continue to run into the same obstacle again and again and again, which is opening the door to Pakistan's textiles in the US market runs directly into certain entrenched American interests. I don't think that this has changed, but I also agree that perhaps we ought to be looking for different areas of material commercial cooperation going forward and not looking back to ones that have repeatedly failed us in the past.
Professor Ikram Sehgal, every now and then when you open the newspaper, you will find an article from him, either in Urdu and English. He's a defense analyst, a soldier on the ground, fought the war, a pilot, running a huge security company in Pakistan. And we are honored that he is the chairman of the Karachi Council of Foreign Relations. I'm sure he is going to host you all in Karachi or in Islamabad whenever the situation gets better. There is a suggestion also to host a foreign policy conference by the KCFR. We love to do that physically, but now I request Honourable Ikram Sehgal Saab for his closing remarks.
Thank you, Moin Fudda Saab. I'm very grateful to you. First of all, let me thank Ambassador Cameron Munter, my good friend and fellow director on East-West Institute for many years. And also Dr. Daniel Markey, straight away responded when I requested him. And obviously, we've seen the benefit of two candid, fair-minded Americans on US-Pakistan policy. And I think that is most important, a candid conversation. And that candid conversation must carry on from our Pakistani interlocutors, and that I'm grateful to Dr. Moeed Yusuf, first of all, for having agreed to this, and of course, his contribution was magnificent. And after Dr. Huma Baqai, really, she really brings a lot of luster to all the discourse that takes place. We have had a good discourse. I would just like to mention a few points. My first point is that Pakistan is not the same of 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Pakistan, as I discussed with my World Economic friends, is a part of South Asia, is a part of Central Asia, is a part of the Middle East. If you look at it, we are a geographical pivot. And as Moeed has talked about, we are onto geoeconomics with the BRI and the CPEC. We are actually, if you look at it, the gateway to Eurasia, the gateway to MENA, and the gateway to South and Southeast Asia, that if India decides to have a meaningful and good relationship with us. So things have changed. I kept on telling a lot of my Pakistani friends that every morning when we go for Fajr prayers, we should pray that Modi lasts for a long time in India. Because what he has done to India, as far as South Asia is concerned, Pakistan would never have accomplished in 1,000 years. He has now got bad relations with Nepal. India has got bad relations with Sri Lanka. India has managed bad relations with Nepal, with other countries, and with Bangladesh. After having declared 2.5 million Bangladeshis as alien in Assam, you think the Bangladeshis are very happy about it? So I think we should every day get up in the morning, and obviously what Moeed said is very relevant, that India is the belligerent here. With every country in this region, they have a problem. And Mr. Biden is a very fair-minded person. He is on record for saying that India has been using Afghanistan as a platform against Pakistan. This is on record. This is exactly what Senator John McCain said, and this is what Lindsey Graham said when he came with Senator John McCain to Pakistan. So the United States very well knows what India's role has been. First of all, using the Soviets, and then as a platform against Pakistan, then the Americans as a platform against Pakistan, and now the only reason the deal with Afghanistan is now coming to fruition is because India is out of the process. The day India went out of the process, we had headway. Yes, it has to be an Afghanistan-led process. It's going to be a messy thing. It's not going to happen quickly. That everyone realizes. But it is better than the all-out war that has been going on for the last 30 years. So one has to be very clear about that. Now, as far as we are concerned, I think, and the Americans should go back to BRI and CPEC, we must have a neutral stance. We must have a neutral stance because we cannot afford to be antagonistic towards Iran, and we cannot afford to be agnostic and animostic towards Saudi Arabia. So let us take it like this, not a Shia Sunni thing. Let me tell you the positive thing. Pakistan is the only country, a Sunni country, with the largest population of Shias in our armed forces. Until today, in 70 years of our existence, more than 70 years, not a single incident has taken part within the armed forces as far as Shia and Sunni is concerned. All Shia Sunni thing has been sponsored from outside, whether it's Iran sponsored against Saudi interests, with the Saudi against Iran interests. And now, of course, we know that India is trying to sponsor terrorism because they've openly said so. So I think that thing, I see a future good relationship, United States, provided we remain neutral as far as China is concerned. We have a good economic relationship with China. We are a gateway for China. We are necessary for China to get into the Middle East, etc. But at the same time, it is in our interest to engage the United States and engage the United States positively. And I, like Dan said, and Ambassador Cameron Munter said, it is the private sector which has to come in and realize where the money is made, they will come. And as I see it, Pakistan's Gold Coast from Karachi to Gwadar exists. Everybody talks about North-South. It's the Gold Coast where you can have the same sort of economic zones that were made in China, made etc., where you have our labor is much cheaper, much more skilled than that were in China or otherwise in Vietnam. So I am very grateful for this. I'm very grateful to every one of you. And let me tell you, we are having another session, this time with the foreign minister on the 19th of January. And I look forward not to engage, not to make this a one-off thing, but to engage with you in the future and to make sure that our relationship with the United States lasts and we do not give it up as a transactional relationship like it has happened for the last 70 years. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being with us.